Media.
Welcome back to Behind the Bastards, a podcast that you're listening to or watching right now. I think 10% of the audience watches, but it's impossible to tell because streaming numbers are famously opaque. But you know what's not opaque? Our guest for the podcast today, the great Jamie Loftus, here to help us finish the epic saga of OneTaste, a Bay Area orgasm cult that went way too far. Jamie, welcome back to the show.
So good to be here. I am famously translucent. It is nice to not be opaque. Yeah, I do wonder who's watching. But usually I feel like if someone is watching, they'll let you know, and they'll let you know exactly what looks wrong about you. So I'll get back to you with the numbers.
Good to know.
Yeah.
We also have on the podcast today our producer, Sophie Lichterman, who is not showing up through video because you don't need to, you just need to justify that to you maniacs watching the show. You don't need to know why Sophie's not going to be on video. She's not. Deal with it.
Yeah, we don't need another subreddit about if I'm safe or not, guys.
Yeah, podcast listeners, you can just continue ignoring all of this.
It's 2026. Yeah. I'm not. Of course I'm unsafe. What are you talking about?
Are you excited to conclude this epic story? Because we've had a little bit of a break, a longer one than we usually do between the first two parts and the third. So, I expect things have been building up, edging, if you will, as we wait for, the conclusion here.
I liked it. Did feel kind of like method podcasting that you sort of left me hanging on the edge of something thrilling for 10 days, and now I'm ready to what is enlightenment, this feeling of knowledge coming? If knowledge is coming, what is that? That's enlightenment? Yeah. Nirvana?
It's interesting. They come to, the longer OneTaste goes on, the more Nicole Daedone, who is again the leader of all this, gets everyone referring to orgasm as if it's like mana in a role-playing game or something. Like your orgasm is low, or you've got a high level of orgasm. Your orgasm's powerful. So they refer to orgasm not as like a biological thing that happens, sometimes, but as this mana pool that you build up over time, both through OMing, through receiving it if you have a vagina, or through giving, OMing. You build up your orgasm level, and it's almost like this mana pool that helps you gain powers. That's kind of how she talks about it as time goes on.
And that's sort of what you were doing for us and for the
right,
okay.
I
right. see.
That's
see
right.
the
That's
vision.
Right. I wanted to raise your mana. Yeah.
One of my favorite things about cult stories is just the moving goalposts, and how you're oh, you thought that was coming. Well, actually, there's a secret, different kind of come that there is a huge financial barrier to access.
And it's part of this, cults have to be all-consuming. They have to, fill every space in your life. Cults don't want you to have, hobbies or, outside stuff going on. So, right. If it's a cult like Scientology, where it's supposed to be all-consuming, you've got this totally different way of looking at the world and psychology and the mind, that's easier. But if you come in with, this really narrow focus, like Nicole did, where it's just about, cunnilingus, basically, you really have to you have to get creative to make that all consuming, because most people it's not an option to have oral sex all day, every day, for that to be your only behavior. So you really have to work to make that everything.
Yeah, you should never start a cult around something that is free to do.
Right. Yes.
It's going to get difficult quickly if people figure out they can come for free at their house.
Although, Jamie, people have always technically been able to come for free, and yet one of the most reliable ways to make money is assisting them in that. So
that's true. That's true. And I will say, say what you will about Nicole, but she certainly has gotten creative with it so far.
She's creative.
I have never heard quite of this.
Yeah.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human. This is George Severus
and Sam Taggart
from Stradiolab. Let's be real, home comes with a lot of odors. Cooking, pets, everyday life, that's where Febreze comes in.
Febreze helps fight household odors and leaves behind freshness that lasts. And with over 30 scents to choose from, you'll always find one that feels like you.
Febreze, freshness that fits your life, your space, your style.
Febreze is a proud sponsor of the Elton John Impact Awards, honoring those who have helped shape a more inclusive and compassionate world with their artistry, advocacy, and unwavering commitment to equality.
You won't want to miss the Elton John Impact Awards podcast, available on June 1st on the iHeartRadio app and everywhere podcasts are heard.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Owning a home is full of surprises. Some wonderful, some not so much. And when something breaks, it can feel like the whole day unravels. That's why HomeServe exists. For as little as $4.99 a month, you'll always have someone to call. A trusted professional ready to help, bringing peace of mind to 4.5 million homeowners nationwide. For plans starting at just $4.99 a month, go to homeserve.com. That's homeserve.com. Not available everywhere. Most plans range between $4.99 to $11.99 a month your first year. Terms apply on covered repairs.
Your social media feed delivers plenty of advice, but it doesn't know you. It doesn't ask questions. It doesn't give physical exams or order tests. Doctors do. At the American Medical Association, we believe the best care starts with a real conversation with someone who understands the science and your unique health. So stay curious, ask questions, but when it's time to make decisions, make them with a doctor. Learn more at amahealthversushype.org. That's amahealthvshype.org.
So, in mid-2006, OneTaste used Rob's money. Remember our boy Rob, who's, she's turned into like the male figurehead a lot of the time of the Coltonist period. She uses his money to lease a warehouse, and Nicole mandates everyone's got to live together. Now, we're all living in this fucking warehouse. This will be the first of two different warehouses that are like communal living spaces. And initially,
like nice warehouses. Warehouse could mean so much.
They're in the Bay. It's off of what's it called? It's off of Folsom Street. So it's not like it's an expensive area. Like, it's fairly expensive real estate.
Okay.
From the videos, it's like a warehouse, but not a bad one. I have spent time in San Francisco warehouses that are Oakland warehouses that were living spaces. This seems like one of the nicer ones, right?
Okay.
So around 50 people move in at first, and they have to give up most of their earthly possessions to do so. Once they all live in the warehouse, basically most things are communal and borrowed or shared. People will borrow and take each other's clothes. If you complain that someone's taking all of your clothes or taking your stuff and that you don't feel like it's equal, you'll be sort of critiqued or attacked for being too obsessed with attachments. Nicole starts having these, she'll go through a couple of different names, but there's these various different sort of group meeting structures that she'll do where everyone sits around in a circle and critiques each other. This is all downhill from Synanon and the game that they played where everyone gets in a circle and insults each other. There's different versions of this, but it's a way
the radical
for
honesty approach where it's I'm being abusive towards you for your self-improvement.
Because
that's how a lot of clown classes work.
Yep.
Yeah.
So people who complain that like, hey, all my clothes have been taken by someone else will be critiqued as being obsessed with attachments. You don't want to be too obsessed with attachments. You know, we're doing this for the betterment of humankind. You know, why do you care that everyone's taking your shirts? Everybody sleeps. There's one giant central main room with like a dozen or more beds crammed together. Like it has to be like 20 beds, 20 something beds for 50 people crammed together. And like between 2 and 3 people for a bed, it kind of seems like. I think it's usually couples, but it does, at least from some interviews, it seems like some people are doing, you know, thruples or foursomes too. So again, at this point, you've got a few dozen, maybe around 50 full-time members who have like really devoted themselves completely to the cult. And then a few hundred people in the Bay Area who are kind of taking their courses. Some of these folks are casual, maybe once or twice a year they'll do a thing. Some of these folks are more regular. You know, they're coming in every month or even every week to do a variety. Maybe they're doing a mix of yoga, some OM classes, whatever. And that's kind of how the cult is limping along at this point in time.
So we've 50 people like full-time in the warehouse. Full-time.
Living together, completely committed. And then a few hundred people who are like paying money. And you wouldn't even call those folks cult members, right? Because the cult has a business side. So it'd be more accurate to say there's maybe 50 or so members and then a few hundred customers, right? The cult
I think
is
that makes sense for San Francisco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. The cult is not at this point financially self-sufficient, but it is making enough money that Nicole only needs to like donations from rich people to kind of seal the gaps. So periodically, you know, probably a few times a month, she'll be like, okay, we need X $1,000. So we've got to find 1, 2, 3 wealthy donors who are willing to put in this much money. And generally what she's doing is kind of, hey, you remember you took this last class? We've got another one. It costs like $5,000, but I know you're really attracted to this cult member. She'll be in the class. Don't you want to get right? That's kind of how this is. And that's not quite prostitution, but that's like on the edge, right?
Well,
especially...
Yeah, she has too much. She has all the power in that situation. And also, I'm assuming that, you know, at least some of the time she's lying about that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So, so in a way that is trafficking, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely trafficking or trafficking adjacent. It's going to get a lot more direct at this point. It's a little, you know, fuzzy. And she always frames this...
I'm still enjoying the idea of all of the like the few hundred people who are just sort of like one toe into the cult. I think we both live in cities where that is the case for about half of the residents. Where I'm like, I'd probably go to a cult a couple times.
A
couple times a month. I probably go to a place that I'm going to read an expose about in a couple years. I don't know.
Easily. Like I said, I'm not 100% sure. I haven't been to parties with like a bunch of OneTaste people.
Look.
Because I got high a lot in the Bay Area around this time.
I mean, it's like we're never going to move into the warehouse, but, you know, not out of the question that maybe you've been to the warehouse. You don't know.
I've been to a few, been to a couple of warehouses.
You're an open-minded guy.
Yeah. I'm an open-minded guy. I love a warehouse, you know.
I've maybe performed. What have I done stand-up at?
Robert Evans. I love a warehouse.
I love a good warehouse. I love a good warehouse. Yeah. So, and this is kind of, so, you know, on one side, you've got Nicole reaching out to these folks who are like regular, wealthier customers. These are Bay Area tech bros generally who have a good amount of money. So she's got a list of these guys who she's like, okay, we need money. I can reach out to these dudes and maybe that'll bring in $5 or $10,000 that we need. And then on the other side, within the cult, she frames this often as like a game where like she'll go to a specific member and be like, hey, so we're doing a class and it's a $high class. I'll give you a free ticket, but I'm going to have to partner you up with so-and-so because he really likes you. You know, do you want a free class, right? And she would ask you to do her like a favor often for you, right? Or a favor for them. And so even outside of the classes, she's sometimes saying, hey, this guy needs, you know, I want to convince him to sign up. Would you do me a favor? And favor is a hand job, generally. Usually when she uses that term, that means like, I want you to jerk this guy off for me outside of a class.
Trafficking.
And so now we're Come
on. No, this isn't, the line has been crossed.
this is kind of, and from a very early point, 2005-06, she's regularly, it's not always, but she's pretty regularly crossing the line into prostitution, right?
Well, this exceeds certain Epstein tactics to me. It's it's not just you're recruiting someone to go to a second location. It's you're being trafficked to go give a hand job to get to a second location.
Right, to get them into the class where they'll then be going down on you for an hour or for 3 days or whatever, depending on the kind of class that they're doing.
Depending
right?
on how in the warehouse you are.
Yeah, how in the warehouse you are. And that kind of, over time, this just becomes a major part of how OneTaste gets by. Certain moneyed men will pay for group workshops where many of the other seats are taken by other people paying for seats, including women. There are women in the Bay Area who pay for these seats, and they get paired up with these guys too. But a decent number of seats and holes, kind of, if we haven't sold, there's 24 slots in this. We only found 15 people, and most of them are men, so we need to make up the difference with a lot of young females from the cult, right?
The ratio is off in the cult.
Yeah.
We gotta get the ratio.
Right. So by 2008, the constant struggle to keep the lights on in OneTaste, because again, they're never quite in the black, had made Nicole desperate, right? She likes the lifestyle, but it's also not quite working. And I think she's aware of the risk. I think she knows I've crossed the line already and we're still not profitable. Maybe I should either leave or try to sell off my position in the cult to a mark, right? So she starts wondering, has this thing run its course? And just as she's wondering, do I need to cancel or do I need to end things? A savior appears. And that savior is the New York Times. So one of the reporters calls and hears, I've heard there's this Bay Area company that's, an orgasm classes, and they're teaching people how to do orgasmic meditation. Sounds like a great story. And Nicole is like, come on by. We would love to have you. Now, I've quoted a couple of times in the previous episodes from that New York Times article. And what I really want to emphasize to you is that this is a bad and irresponsible piece of journalism. The Times does not come in. There's a couple of lines in there where they're like, some people say this is problematic, and there's a couple references to they may be blurring some lines, in regards to
so crazy to hear about the New York
stuff.
Times both sizing an issue in which there is a clear right side to be on. That's so interesting.
No,
Weird.
They treat this like it's a cool tech company. They treat this like it's somewhere between that and an interesting new, kind of alternative healthcare thing, like cold plunges or something. It's very much written like that. Or when that dude was doing all those classes on I can be submerged in the cold. We did episodes on them for crazy periods. It's like that sort of thing where they're treating it like a fucking Malcolm Gladwell book. Yeah, she says science tells us this about orgasms. They're just trying to be more scientific. Right. That's how it's framed.
I feel like
these are
that's
researchers.
Often how the New York Times is its whole own set of issues, but how East Coast journalists often talk about West Coast trends where they are just they're just kooky. They're just weird over there. Check out these freaks. And you're like, no, those are sex criminals.
No,
We're
this
doing
is bad.
Other weird
this is
stuff you couldn't conceive of. Yeah.
And so as a result, the article winds up working as an advertisement for OneTaste more than anything else. Sure. And it even features, they take photos of OM sessions of women being stroked and other otherwise masturbated in these different clinic classes that go on, but really work safe. So you'll just get Sophie's going to put one on screen for those that you can see. And it's this beautifully lit photo of just the top half of a woman. And she's it's reversed, so her head is facing down, and so you could just see her head, and she's got this expression of ecstasy. She's wearing a black shirt or something, and has her hands kind of folded across her chest, and she's lit so that it almost looks like her face is glowing.
She kind of looks like a vampire coming back to life. Why would you consent to have this picture taken of you? Oh my God. I mean, it's beautiful.
In the article, the framing of it, the title of the photo is Inner Bliss. At a OneTaste Urban Retreat Center, a resident practices orgasmic meditation. Partner not shown.
Partner not shown.
Yeah. So best of all, In the article, the Times describes Nicole as a literal, quote, sex diva. And here's, Sophie will show you again, there's this photo. Nicole's right in the center. This is her giving a class. She's like well lit. Sex diva, Nicole Daedone, OneTaste's founder, says women will experience freedom when they own their sexuality.
God, how proud was the writer who came up with the phrase sex diva that they had to write it down?
God, fucking
It's an interesting photo to choose because it almost looks like a TED Talk.
Yeah, well, great.
Yeah.
Sophie, put a pin in that. So the article was a massive hit for OneTaste. Suddenly, journalists, including a lot of like local TV news journalists in the Bay Area, are crowding in to get the story on OneTaste, and most of them are covering it in positive ways. They're kind of bemused. Look at this kooky thing. But it's like good. No, like these are not generally wondering, is this all like a sex cult that she's just like trafficking her members to rich tech guys in order to keep the lights on, right? That's not really asked, you know?
Well, and is she still like playing into the whole, I mean, what has kind of been striking to me about a lot of the marketing we've looked at is that she's getting, she's got the girl boss scam of like making it seem like this is good for women and women centered.
Yeah.
And
This is
it
empowering.
seems like they're
This
just
is empowering.
going with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because this is always framed as like, did you know this very large percentage of women have never had an orgasm or never had an orgasm with another partner, you know? And then from there to like, so that makes this a health issue, right? And that makes this, and then there's all this like, and here's what we've learned about the health benefits of orgasm. And so there's always this like underpinning of actual statistics and actual stuff. And as a result, it gets covered as if it's just part of the broad sort of body hacking, body optimization stuff that's going crazy in the aughts. And so in very short order, OneTaste starts picking up some really like mainstream partners. Audible sponsors one of their podcasts. They have like an erotic poetry open mic night, and like Audible sponsors turning that into a podcast.
They always, oh my God, every cult is trying to get stand-up comedians in the door. Some of the worst people to come in your door. They're site. Never forget. I came very close. I was nearly persuaded in 2015 to go to a Scientology open mic.
That would have been amazing.
They have refreshments.
Yeah,
it was really tempting.
Been awesome.
I know.
Oh, man.
I know.
My
career would be in a better place, I'm sure. If they still have that kind of
sounds great.
Yeah.
So, cult members were very active on social media, and specifically like a lot of like local social media, like in the Bay Area. So there's a lot of like posts about like, was at this great house party. Here's some crazy pictures. And you'll see these like giant cuddle puddles of a bunch of young women, and like 30% of the cuddle puddle will be like schlubby Bay Area engineer looking dudes, right? These are all very much framed as being like, hey, are you like a nerdy guy with a lot of money who lives in the Bay Area and maybe he's not good with like women? This cult, there's lots of young women who are good to go. All you got to do is pay to take a class, right? That's very much what the messaging is to these guys. And a lot of new members are drawn in, a lot of new male members in particular, are drawn in by posts from residents of the warehouse talking about these wild sex parties. And, you know, we've got a party, and they'll throw parties like on the beach. Here's a OneTaste party on the beach. Come on, like show up. You know, people are being plied with drugs often at these events. They're being plied with sex to get them to pay for and come in and take classes and stuff. I watched an interview with, and I think this actually was from the Netflix documentary. I've watched a couple of interviews, but I watched an interview from one of these members who joins during this period of time. And this is a middle-aged, nerdy engineer dude who discovered OneTaste via these posts. And at first assumed, his quote was like, oh, this either has to be fake, or if it's real, they'll never have me, right? But when he showed up, he found out that he in fact had what they wanted most, a credit card. Quote, one night I was living on a boat by myself, and the next I was living with like 40 people, sleeping in a bed with my research partner. I was like this nerdy tech guy by day, and at night I'd go home and be in the middle of this craziness. And that's the appeal. You can keep being, because they don't want you to quit your job if you're like making a lot of money in the tech industry. You can keep being your nerdy tech guy by day, but you get to actually be cooler than that. You've got a secret life where you're researching orgasm magic with like beautiful young women and living in this like free love compound. And so your life is a lot more exciting than the other fucking engineers at Google or whatever.
And the fact that all of this is because it's like the wish fulfillment thing is very clear. She couldn't have chosen a better location to find this particular kind of guy.
No, perfect.
But and also the Silicon Valley detail of corporate sponsors for the sex cult
it's great.
is mwah.
Mm-hmm. It's perfect stuff. And you know what else would be a corporate sponsor for a sex cult?
Oh, I have a feeling I know.
The products and services that support this podcast. Some of them may have been. We've had Audible ads before. Like this is what we've shared at least one advertiser with this sex cult.
God, let's
Probably
go for 2.
more than one. Let's be honest.
Mm-hmm. More than one, almost certainly. Anyway,
God, what if it's an ad for dick pills? What if it's an ad for dick pills?
there's a good chance it will be, and I hope it is.
I know.
Guys don't like talking about ED, but if something's been off in the bedroom, you're not alone, and you don't need to wait longer than you need to take action. Getting real treatment is simple, and through Hims, it's 100% online. At some point, you've got to stop blaming stress, sleep, or just getting older. If bedroom performance is in question, it's probably crossed your mind to do something about it. The good news, you don't have to jump through hoops to fix it. Hims connects you with licensed healthcare providers online, giving you simple access to legitimate ED treatment options from home. No awkward appointments, no pharmacy lines. You just complete a simple online intake form, and a provider will review your information and determine if treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your treatment ships directly to your door in discreet packaging. To get simple online access to personalized, affordable care for ED, weight loss, and more, visit hims.com/BTB. That's hims.com/BTB for your free online visit. hims.com/BTB. Prescription required. See website for details and important safety information. Sildenafil is the generic version of Viagra. Viagra is a registered trademark of Viatris, a Viatris Specialty LLC. Hims is not affiliated with or endorsed by Viatris.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
This is Jana Kramer from Wind Down with Jana Kramer. So why do they call it a dishwasher? Well, don't worry. It's not a trick question or anything. It's just because it washes dishes. If the filter and the dishwasher itself are dirty, those dishes aren't actually getting clean. That's why you need Cascade Platinum Plus. Powered by 2 times the cleaning power of Dawn, Cascade Platinum Plus doesn't just remove 100% of grease and residue from dishes. It cleans your dishwasher and filter too. So you get clean dishes and a dishwasher that keeps washing. Just scrape, load, and done. Find Cascade Platinum Plus at your local retailer. Cascade is a proud sponsor of the Elton John Impact Awards, honoring those who have helped shape a more inclusive and compassionate world with their artistry, advocacy, and unwavering commitment to equality. Cascade would like to take this opportunity to congratulate all of this year's deserving honorees. Don't miss the Elton John Impact Awards podcast, available on June 1st on the iHeartRadio app and everywhere podcasts are heard.
This is Rob Gronkowski from Dudes on Dudes with Gronk and Jules. And talk about a perfect partnership. I'm here to tell you about protecting your end zone with Dude Wipes. If you're still wiping with toilet paper, you need to listen up. Dude Wipes are a wet, extra large flushable wipe that leave nothing behind in your behind. Because they are wet, and we all know wetter cleans better. Unlike dry wiping with toilet paper, Dude Wipes clear instead of smear. Goodbye dingleberries. Goodbye itch and irritation. Plus, if you take Gronk-sized grumpies, or as I like to call them, Gronkies, baby wipes won't do. You need extra big Dude Wipes to handle the job. And they come in different scents and pack sizes, including a single-use on-the-go pack that you can take wherever you go for that home field advantage. So don't fumble the ball with toilet paper. Stop being an a-hole to your b-hole and start using Dude Wipes, available on Amazon and major retailers nationwide. Dude Wipes, best clean, pants down.
We're back, and we're all hoping that the ad you just heard was for dick pills, because we do have some dick pill sponsors. Wouldn't that be fun? Wouldn't that be a good time,
just
everybody?
because, comedy. Ha ha ha.
Comedy.
Love it.
So Nicole spent the first few years of the cult's life sharing spaces with everyone else. She's living there initially at the warehouse. But after a few years, around 2010 or 11, I think is kind of when this starts to happen, she decides there's too many demands on her attention. Now, coincidentally, this is shortly after she starts, sometime around 2006 or 7, off and on seeing and then eventually dating seriously this Silicon Valley entrepreneur and multimillionaire named Reese Jones, right? Now, Reese, when they meet, this guy's pushing 50. He's not in great shape, but he's just sold his company to Motorola for a shitload of money. So this guy has spent the first chunk of his life building up, and he finally cashed out, and he's like kind of over the hill and looking to recapture his youth now that he's got a shitload of money, and he stumbles into OneTaste for the same reason a fly winds up in a Venus flytrap, right? It's made as a trap for this guy.
Reese Jones, excellent name for an insecure multimillionaire. Couldn't have written it better myself.
Had to be a Reese. Yeah.
Had to.
Yeah.
And just, oh God, the idea of conceptually, I feel like we encounter them all the time. A 50-year-old guy that's like, I think I'm ready to settle down. I think I'm ready to. I was like, wow, huge. You've really just figured it out, haven't you?
Yeah. I think I'm ready to settle down with a building full of trafficked people. Yeah. So Reese, OneTaste is losing money badly during most of this period, and Nicole needs a rich mark like Reese to prop everything up. He gives them $1 million. He's absolutely critical to their survival during this period of time. So Nicole starts dating Reese, and this is going on from 2006 or so to 2011. And she's over this period of time spending more and more time with him, less and less time at the warehouse around her members. She's going on vacations with him, and she moves out of the warehouse and into a mansion with him because she decides that it's way better to live like a multimillionaire than to live with her colleagues at the masturbation store.
Another classic cult moment where you're like, and now the leader has decided that personal space does matter only for them.
For the leader. Yeah. So from this point on, she no longer lives full-time in the communal spaces with her cult members, who are still technically researchers, but are starting to look a lot more like her workforce. 2011 was the big shift year for OneTaste, where it goes from being a weird self-help culty thing to a Silicon Valley body hacking startup. Nicole publishes, there's a couple of big moments that kind of delineate this shift from the past, where OneTaste is very much like a descendant of these previous kind of orgasm woo cults that we'd talked about, right?
Okay.
And there's not much to differentiate her from that until she publishes a book called Slow Sex, The Art and Craft of the Female Orgasm. And that happens right as OneTaste is sort of maturing to be more of a service provider and more of a body hacking thing than we're researching the future. We're researching orgasm magic too. We're selling courses on orgasmic meditation, right? As that shift happens, it's kind of signposted by, she puts out this book that sells very well called Slow Sex. And it's framed as a guide for both men and women and dedicated to, quote, the orgasm. May each of us find ours now. Right? She's kind of talking again of of orgasm like it's magic. Right. One of the book jacket quotes for Slow Sex is by Ian Kerner, a sexuality counselor and New York Times bestselling author of She Comes First. Ian said,
"No,
slow sex is
no, dude, no, oh my
slow
God,
slow sex is the real deal on pleasuring a woman. For any guy who wants his 15 minutes of sexual fame, Daedone offers practical and inspired guide to the orgasmic big leagues." What?
No.
15 minutes of sexual fame? What?
The male feminist has clocked in.
This is why more than one of my female friends has given me a taser.
Yeah.
Ooh.
There's a lot that's like just it's.
Wow.
She comes first. Wow.
She comes first. She tases second.
And you get you really see a lot in terms of who the real customers are here, because it's always framed as we're doing this for women. This is for and by women.
Not.
But that quote is like, yeah, for any guy who wants his 15 minutes of sexual fame, do you want to feel like a big shot? You want to feel like you're the best at like sex and pleasure, right? Like you're a fucking sex god. Like that's what we'll make you into. That's like, really what OneTaste is selling.
This slow switch to an orgasm is not something that happens for women, but at them in like this way that feels really like that. I don't know.
It's gross.
It almost like it feels reminiscent to me of like a Justin Baldoni playbook of like me respecting women is a business that I have.
Yeah.
And it is marketed at men, but it's for women, and I just happen to be financially benefiting from it.
Yeah. Now, Sophie, I told you to put a pin in this, but the moment that most embodied the evolution of OneTaste into Silicon Valley startup was Nicole's TED Talk. Nicole Daedone, Orgasm, the Cure for Hunger. That's the name of this speech. No. And Sophie's got to play you a long clip from this fucking TED Talk that shows you how Nicole is pitching this to like a mass audience. This is her gearing her pitch to like the biggest possible group of people, right? So here is like the mainstream focused look at this.
Okay, sex diva.
I just want to give it for the non-Netflix watchers. She's wearing what I can only describe as like peak like express.
It looks like 2011 in there. That's for damn
peak
sure.
Express blazer with a ooh, is this a tank underneath in purple?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a serious woman would never show her arms. So she's wearing a tasteful blazer.
But a little bit of cleave is okay, sorry.
So I figure we're TED people, we're fast, we're savvy, we're smart. So I'm just gonna break the ice for us, okay? My topic is female orgasm.
Hold for applause.
God. So that said, I want to thank the people of TEDx for having me on this stage. This has been a dream of mine that I thought was absolutely impossible. That we could have a relevant, intelligent conversation about female orgasm was just a distant dream for me. I just fell in love with this practice. That's what happened for me. I gave nearly 10,000 hours to this practice. That's a lot of hours. A lot. But I learned some key things in that time that I am bringing to you. The first is that female orgasm is vital for every single woman on the planet. The second is it's not so bad for the guys either. The third, and on a much more serious note, is that it roots our fundamental capacity for connection. It's for this reason that I believe that at some point you will hear
they
yoga,
cut to two women who look so
meditation,
disinterested,
and orgasm. And you won't hear it yoga, meditation, and orgasm. So in 2004, I founded OneTaste Urban Retreat Centers with this in mind.
I think that's all I needed. Yeah. Isn't that great?
Yes, girl, give us nothing. Oh my God.
I love it. I love it. Oh, that's peak 2011 Silicon Valley hype train nonsense. She's very much, she's doing a Steve Jobs. She's doing a fucking Theranos. She's really trying to thread that needle and doing it very successfully. This pivot works great.
I was like, you know what she was giving? She was like, I don't shop at Ann Taylor. I shop at Ann Taylor Loft.
That's where I shop, Sophie. But
I really love this. I feel like a common feature of any time I'm like watching a TEDx talk for whatever reason, that mentioning at the top, like, I never thought I would make it here, when I can guarantee you any garden variety narcissist can get a TEDx talk. It is not difficult.
I never thought I would email a fucking PR representative and show them, hey, look at how many followers I have on social media. Can I have a TEDx talk?
I never thought. And, oh, God.
Like it's an award and not what every hack and grifter in the aughts and fucking early 20-teens did, a fucking TED Talk. Like, I think we us olds, remember when there seemed to be some prestige around TED Talks?
Yeah.
But a lot of it was just a con. You know, a lot of it is how a lot of grifters grifted.
Particularly TEDx, which is like regional.
TEDx.
And,
yeah.
Sophie, it was reminding me so much of like how we were encouraged to dress in high school and college, where like I'll look at a picture of myself at 19 and be like, why am I dressed like I'm 50 years old?
Why am I wearing business casual to the frat?
Why are we all dressed in business casual?
I should have been dressing like a huge slut, and it was just such a missed opportunity.
No, I have the exact same regret, Jamie. But you know what? There's always time. We could do that now.
We made up for it later.
I dressed as a huge slut for that period of time, which means I only wore Ed Hardy shirts. My pants, Ed Hardy shirts. My underwear, Ed Hardy shirts. My Ed Hardy shirts, actually not from Ed Hardy. Anyway.
That's the sluttiest thing a man could do at one time.
That was at one time.
So Jamie and I are out here in our Ann Taylor loft.
That's right. Just like
looking
Nicole.
Older than my mother. There truly are pictures of me as a teenager where I think I look older than I do now. It's so bizarre.
It was a weird time for fashion.
I will find a pantsuit pic. I mean, a little pantsuit skirt picture that will ruin your day.
There was a period of time, where we just thought that like everyone was going to dress like Hillary Clinton, you know? If only that had taken over.
Hillary Clinton wishes she found this outfit that I definitely got from H&M on sale.
Yeah.
Oh you know? God.
So while Nicole was absent from the two different warehouses that her cult members lived in over the years, she was always present in spirit. And by that, I mean Nicole picked who slept in each bed. She had like a seating chart for beds in the commune spaces, and she would decide who was sleeping with who and paired with who as a research partner. And for all that Nicole, over the years, she would sometimes date women and she would portray herself and OneTaste as very queer positive because it's the aughts and the 20-teens and the Bay, and you have to. But despite all that, OneTaste's teachings and practice were very heteronormative and very much like anti-queer in a lot of ways.
Well, even how she was talking about sex and orgasms felt just, because she's ultimately, her customers are men.
Right. Yes, exactly. So, there are, like, she does have to get a certain number of, like, female, like, customers buying in and getting into the cult because she needs to use their bodies in order to further the business. So it is true that, and we've talked about this, right? Like, in the last episode I showed you, this was kind of the pitch she's making it to a lot of these women. But it is the money part of the cult is entirely focused at selling to men, right? Yeah. She has to sell OneTaste to women to get the workforce that she then basically traffics to get the money from the guys, right? So there is kind of a two-part aspect of it, I guess, which is important to see.
The name never gets easier to hear, I have to say.
No, it's always upsetting. So, as I was saying, men is very heteronormative, like the actual cult's teaching. And Nicole is like kind of really anti-queer past a certain point. Men and women are always pretty much paired together, as far as I can tell. And Nicole would even break up existing queer relationships when people joined the group in order to pair them with opposite sex partners. Because she doesn't think queer relationships are real. The bleakest example of this is probably the story of two OneTaste members, Jamie and Caitlin. They are a lesbian couple who were drawn.
Wait, hold on.
I know what to tell you. I think these are fake names. I think these are fake names. I believe, because I found this account from Ellen Hewitt's book, Empire of Orgasm. I think she's using pseudonyms for these people, right?
I think she's a Bechtelcast fan.
Or she's a Bechtelcast
hater.
Or
if
hater.
She wants to
I don't know.
To this.
These are pretty sympathetic people. So Jamie and Caitlin, Jamie and Caitlin are a lesbian couple who get into OneTaste. They're like teenagers. They're very young adults, and they're broke. And so they're both obviously interested in female pleasure because they're lesbians, but they also don't have any money. And so being able to live for free in the Bay in this warehouse seems kind of rad. as soon as they move in, and again, they move in as a partnership, as a unit, Nicole tells them, well, this all is about exploration. We're all trying to grow. And you're not going to grow if you just stay with like the partner that you like. And you're not going to grow as a queer woman. You can't grow by just having sex with the people you're attracted to. You can only grow by having male partners. That's the only way to grow as a queer woman, right? And so you need to experiment with your sexuality by letting men OM you, right? And eventually by having sex with men. Now, in public, OMing is all that OneTaste is about. And in public, OM is described in almost asexual terms because they really want to avoid the allegations that they're just trafficking in sex. But within the actual commune, people aren't just OMing 2 times a day in the morning and 2 times at night. They're being commanded by Nicole to have intercourse, right? When she's pairing people up for beds, those aren't just your OM partners. You're ordered to fuck them. And so Caitlin and Jamie are paired with dudes in the cult, often with dudes, you know, maybe who have some money that Nicole wants to make sure stay, right? But they're told they have to fuck dudes to level up, basically. In order to like gain XP in this cult system, in order to make your orgasm more powerful, you have to do these things that you're physically uncomfortable with because you're not into guys.
And
I'm going to quote from...
Well, at this point, are Jamie and Caitlin, as an ally to both, are Jamie and Caitlin paying for this, or are they, quote unquote, being paid in free lodging? Like how?
They're being paid, I think, mostly in free. I think because a lot of members do pay, but a lot of the ones who don't are the women, especially the younger women, and these two are broke. So I don't think they. God. Now it may be because they are getting some money when they're working for the company, but it's very uneven, and those OneTaste will switch up what you're being paid at the last minute, and often you're feeding that right back into the company. So to that extent, maybe they're being given money that they then have to. Yeah, I'm not sure how it works for every individual person. It's kind of different for everybody, depending on your position and what Nicole is getting out of you, right? But to quote from the book Empire of Orgasm, Jamie said that in courses she heard a repeated message: all women are hungry for cock. If you're not feeling cock hungry, you're not connected to a part of yourself, right? This is very anti-queer. Now, eventually, both women start having sex with male members of the group, and this is psychologically devastating to Jamie, who started to feel like her desire for her girlfriend, the woman, because they've been broken up forcibly by now, but the person who had been her girlfriend was wrong. She convinces herself to push on because Nicole keeps teaching her resistance is key to growth, and she really admires Nicole, and she also needs this place to live. Right. Experiences, Nicole tells Jamie, aren't good or bad for you. Experiences aren't good or bad at all. You choose the meaning. So if you're deciding that this is an unpleasant sexual experience, that's because you made a choice. You could choose for it to be a good one. Why aren't you choosing for it to be a good one? Right? See how fucking abusive this logic is?
This is just like, yeah, and all under, and it still sort of falls under the like early 2010s definition of like being pro-woman is, I mean, you could even extend this to like Sheryl Sandberg logic of like, it is your fault that you are feeling oppressed and abused, and it is on you to behave the right way, to be accepted in this environment.
And there's bits of all. There's bits of The Secret in there, right? You just have to change your attitude, and you can change reality. And you can see both how people don't necessarily pick this out as poisonous initially, but also how running with this logic, the obvious end state of this is that like there's no such thing as rape ever. If experiences are not bad or good, there can't be such a thing as rape. You are choosing to be raped if you're raped, because you're choosing to interpret that as a bad experience. This is directly, in those words, what Nicole will eventually be teaching her followers, right?
And that is so empowering.
I know that's really bad. Like
that is, that's fucking horrific. It's
so really, really horrific.
It's oh God. And it's like that even in the way she's like the number of like pressure points she's attempting to attack is like she's sort of telling people to dissociate, but also telling them that like the failure to do so, or the failure to feel pleasure where pleasure doesn't exist because it's abuse, is a personal failure. But it also sounds like she's like, well, if you don't like it, then just pretend you are a person who likes it.
Yeah, pretend you're a person who likes it. Why can't you do that? And we'll keep talking. So, in time, Jamie becomes a coach, and she starts to see success in the organization. And this success, the fact that she's moving up the ladder, so to speak, validates, is like the first, because again, this is a young queer woman who doesn't have a lot of life experience, who I think had a pretty rough background. And so this is like the first validation she's gotten as an adult person. So she becomes extremely loyal, even though she's been horribly abused by this cult, which is a common cult story, right?
Sure, yeah.
So then in 2012, Nicole calls Jamie and Caitlin in for a little one-on-one. And she informs them she's breaking up with Reese, the Silicon Valley millionaire who had kept the cult alive through its bad years, but she still owes him a lot of money from all the because he's calling in basically, the loans he'd given them.
God,
and
the amount of discarded OneTaste guys at this point could unionize.
And I don't fully understand the financials here. She does not discard him. Some reports I've said suggest that she repays him by 2012, that she's repaid him for like the $1 million that he loans the cult. But that's when this is all happening. And that doesn't entirely line up with this, because this suggests she's still getting some money from him in 2012. I don't fully know. And I don't claim to know at which point was Reese giving the cult money, at which point was Reese receiving money. But whatever the case, at this point in 2012, she still wants to keep Reese in the fold, even though she's breaking up with him, right? Because she tells Nicole, I have to move to Los Angeles because I have important work to do there, which is she's trying to find more rich guys, right? But Reese needs a handler, and I've been his handler for the last, several years. And in my place, I need you two to be Reese's handlers so that I can move on to Los Angeles. And here's how Ellen Hewitt describes what happens next. Jamie paused. Everything she learned up to this point had primed her to say yes to the position, and to do so willingly, idolizing Nicole, becoming accustomed to having sex with men and to having sex with any kind of man, getting off on any stroke, being told that she should provide anything to help the company. Plus, being asked to be Reese's handler felt like an honor. Jamie knew that only a few women in OneTaste's history had held the same position. They were often Nicole's confidants, an admired group. She also knew the unspoken threat. The consequence of saying no is that you would be ostracized, ignored, and stripped of all your power in that world, Jamie said. So I want to be clear, that last bit, the fact that if you displease Nicole, if you wind up on the outskirts, you'll be kicked out, you'll lose everything that you've gotten from this world, that is something she directly tells people during lectures. After everyone has experienced orgasmic meditation, when folks are in, this powerful cathartic afterglow, she will tell them, this is a direct quote from one of her sessions, that's why this place is called OneTaste. Once you've tasted being inside of yourself and knowing yourself, there is some part of your soul that will always crawl to get back. The truth is, if you get kicked out, your soul will never relax again. She's very direct about this. Right?
Yeah, and she's also just describing chasing a dragon.
Chasing a high. And one of the things when this becomes a quirky, people will say, no one was ever forced to have sex with anyone. No one was ever forced to stay. And they weren't. They were just heavily coerced and basically told that life will be like a gray, colorless hell of an experience if you get forced out of this group because you won't fuck this rich guy, right?
Right. And you're like, well, yeah, maybe then in that case, we should expand the definition a little bit.
So by 2012, OneTaste has totally come around to becoming seen as a tech startup, to fashioning itself that way. Her followers and public-facing communications are talking less about all the crazy parties and a lot more about how Nicole is like a philosopher, but also like a Steve Jobs figure, right?
What is she selling, though? What is the product exactly?
Orgasm power magic.
God, okay. I guess it's at least we're not having children overseas manufacturing the orgasms.
Sure.
Jesus.
So in the years after 2012, OneTaste finally gets into the black, right? It had been struggling. It had been utterly reliant upon these infusions of cash from these rich dudes. And that's not really the case. Kind of after 2012. It's profitable after 2012. The money is still coming from rich guys who are paying for sex, right?
Sure. But not
now
one rich guy.
Not one rich guy and not her saying, hey, I need a loan. And it's her instead selling courses to these guys, right? Okay. So it's no longer loans. Like, it is a profitable business after this point. In fact, a quite profitable business. OneTaste not only repays Reese, but it starts to succeed on its own, raking in millions a year. And they do this. They make this switch in large part by copying something Nicole had seen from the yoga industry. So during the first part of the 21st century, a lot of yoga studios begin offering teacher training. Now, this qualifies somebody to teach a different kind of yoga. Most attendees who do teacher training don't become yoga teachers because there's not that many yoga teacher jobs. And so it's often they're doing it for self-improvement. It's being pitched as like, you take the teacher class because it makes you that much better, right? And these are expensive. And I'm not, if you like, that's fine, right? Whatever. There are some cults within yoga, but also it's fine to pay money to get better at a thing that you like to do, right? I'm not shitting on it. I'm just saying.
It's nice to receive a gentle touch from a beautiful woman. This is what I mean when it's like, we all got our toes in the cold.
Right. A little bit. And so she takes that idea and moves it over to OneTaste. So she starts selling teaching courses. And this will certify you to teach OM and to do classes of your own, right? And there's often more advanced because there's endless layers and every teacher always wants to be. You have to be up on the latest thing. So every year there's a new class about the stuff that you have to get to stay certified. And it's another $5,000 to $10,000, right? These are multi-day courses. Again, a lot of these are hugely expensive.
And I'm assuming that the teacher training also includes abuse?
Well, yeah, I mean, yes. Sure, yes. Now, Nicole had offered a coaching program since 2012. And this takes off. It's successful. They make money of it. So increasingly, OneTaste pours all of its efforts into either hosting coaching classes or selling them. Right? They recruit a huge crop of students in 2012, and eventually they are going to license or whatever more than 1,300 people as OM coaches, each of whom have paid probably well in excess of $10,000 to get to that point, right?
Okay.
In some cases, much more. The company starts turning a profit in 2013, and before long, they are making a surprising amount of money. Nicole begins bringing in celebrity guests to provide a sheen of legitimacy. They start doing cult events. They have these OneTaste Mastery, which are these big, they're these conferences and stuff for the OneTaste family, for all the people who are coaches, because now there's OneTaste houses in different states they're starting to fill up, and people are doing classes outside of the Bay Area. So they're doing these courses, and she's hiring celebrities to talk to everybody at the start of these 3-day and 5-day events. For one event in 2013, she hires Dr. Jocelyn Elders, the former Attorney General, who tells students, you are part of a new sexual revolution. Great. Thank you, Jocelyn.
Wow.
I'm sure she just cast the check.
In a way, it is always wild hearing these celebrities that cults manage to bag for things like this. It's a good reminder that people are desperate for attention and refuse to do even a basic level of research.
Of course not. That's offensive. So I want to show you guys an example of an ad for OneTaste's Mastery program, which is one of their really advanced, certifications. So Sophia is going to play that for us now.
Looks like the Masterclass logo.
I was going to say,
this
does. Is a very tech logo.
Masterclass, master something else.
I'm going to let it slide.
This is a course in how to open your sex life. It's a way for you to research what your actual boundaries are.
How is that lady asleep?
I like to make sure that my whole mouth, my whole tongue,
sex
my whole
without
throat,
boundaries on the screen is the wording there. That's upsetting.
And it really takes sex to a whole new paradigm. I learned how to slow down and actually feel everything that's happening versus constantly being in my head.
This is something I've never done before. And I said, yes.
It was so awesome. One session, only I became aware of the place that it was hard.
Oh my God.
Great. Looks great. I love that one of their quotes is
sex without boundaries.
Now,
there's at least 3 phrases present in the advertising that could plausibly describe assault. Energetic sex. Also feels kind of like a line. Also, with all of these, I mean, I guess something that like feels like a big other than like the techification of this sex cult, it's like been decades since this has been accessible to anyone who doesn't have an insane amount of disposable income, because like the original
or is going to be trafficked, right?
Right, where it's like the earlier sex cults were like, at least you could be trafficked as someone who doesn't have a lot of money laying around.
Right.
The cuts to rooms full of white people with bad haircuts really does kind of pull it all into focus of like what's going on here. God, that's so bleak. The footage,
it's really isn't that remarkable? It's so MLM-y. It's so it's really upsetting to me. It's upsetting, like, again, coming out of like the sex positive, community, the kink community, like the idea that anyone could hear the phrase sex without boundaries and not immediately be like, whoa, wait a second, what are you talking about? What do you mean by that? Because that's a dangerous phrase.
Right. And it feels so that's why it, like, going back to the New York Times article, like, it's so clearly preying on people who don't have a basic understanding, and it's just how they imagine like non-vanilla sex to work.
Right.
Non-vanilla sex to work.
That video really, really, really reminded me of NXIVM.
Yeah, it very similar. And I didn't catch this until right now, but honestly, that's part of what's most upsetting to me about all of this, is that she's almost set this up to be like a fly's web in between people who like know that they want more out of like sex than they're getting, know that like maybe what they weren't educated, they didn't get a good enough education like what sex could be. They want more out of like their relationships than they feel like they're getting. And there is like a sex positive, a kink community where people like aren't trying to like just take your money and abuse you, where you can like learn stuff like that if you're into that. And she's created like the spider's web in front of it to ensnare people, but in a way that is very much different. Because like if you were to like every kink event that I have ever been to starts, and a lot of like education in that starts with boundaries and boundary setting. And the importance is not sex without boundaries. The important is knowing what your boundaries are and having ways to make sure everyone else knows them and that you're communicating them and that you can like, that's what's important. Like it's so fucked up to create this thing that is meant to almost like stand in between that and people who are curious in order to ensnare and hurt them. That's very much what's happening.
Hey, Jamie, is Barbie naked behind you?
Is Barbie naked behind me? No, she's wearing a painted-on bodysuit.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. I was just making sure.
I used to use her on stage, but she does have a bodysuit painted on the doll.
Great.
Thanks for checking in,
Robert. Now that I've checked in on Barbie, it is time for an ad.
Yeah, we should do an ad break.
Okay.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
This is Jana Kramer from Wind Down with Jana Kramer. So why do they call it a dishwasher? Well, don't worry. It's not a trick question or anything. It's just because it washes dishes. If the filter and the dishwasher itself are dirty, those dishes aren't actually getting clean. That's why you need Cascade Platinum Plus. Powered by 2 times the cleaning power of Dawn, Cascade Platinum Plus doesn't just remove 100% of grease and residue from dishes. It cleans your dishwasher and filter too. So you get clean dishes and a dishwasher that keeps washing. Just scrape, load, and done. Find Cascade Platinum Plus at your local retailer. Cascade is a proud sponsor of the Elton John Impact Awards, honoring those who have helped shape a more inclusive and compassionate world with their artistry, advocacy, and unwavering commitment to equality. Cascade would like to take this opportunity to congratulate all of this year's deserving honorees. Don't miss the Elton John Impact Awards podcast, available on June 1st on the iHeartRadio app and everywhere podcasts are heard.
This is Rob Gronkowski from Dudes on Dudes with Gronk and Jules. And talk about a perfect partnership. I'm here to tell you about protecting your end zone with Dude Wipes. If you're still wiping with toilet paper, you need to listen up. Dude Wipes are a wet, extra large flushable wipe that leave nothing behind in your behind. Because they are wet, and we all know wetter cleans better. Unlike dry wiping with toilet paper, Dude Wipes clear instead of smear. Goodbye dingleberries. Goodbye itch and irritation. Plus, if you take Gronk-sized grumpies, or as I like to call them, Gronkies, baby wipes won't do. You need extra big Dude Wipes to handle the job. And they come in different scents and pack sizes, including a single-use, on-the-go pack that you can take wherever you go for that home field advantage. So don't fumble the ball with toilet paper. Stop being an a-hole to your b-hole and start using Dude Wipes. Available on Amazon and major retailers nationwide. Dude Wipes. Best clean, pants down.
This is Bethany Frankel from Just Be with Bethany Frankel. Biggie and Smalls are my little soulmates, and I love them in that ridiculous way only pet people understand. That is why I am so excited to try Chewy. They have over 100,000 products, all the food, treats, toys, supplements my boys could ever need. Everything ships fast, which is huge. Chewy also handles the serious stuff, prescriptions, pet insurance, telehealth, vet visits, and they're even opening vet clinics across the country. Brilliant. And their 24/7 customer service feels like talking to people who truly get it, the kind of people who understand why you would buy insane dog costumes and not get judged for it. Plus, the 1-year satisfaction guarantee means if my boys turn their noses up at something, I can return it with no stress. So excited for how Chewy helps me take care of Biggie and Smalls so I can focus on loving them the way I do. For life with pets, the answer is Chewy. Save $20 on your first order with free shipping at chewpanions.chewy.com/justbe.
All right, and we're back.
I just sort of closing the loop on talking about kink, where like I feel like truly kink communities are our best communicators. It makes me really sad, like you're saying, to see people who are seeking something out and then very likely getting scarred to the point where sex at all is going to be indefinitely traumatizing.
Yeah.
But at least they were parted with $10,000 in the process.
Yeah, at least that happened, right?
Yes.
So, as the most expensive courses went from thousands to tens of thousands of dollars, and the big money started rolling in, much of what the early members had loved about life in the cult changed. The clitoral massages were still a part of life there, but members now were not called researchers. In fact, there's like a big announcement that like, you're no longer researchers, you're now employees. And now, in fact, most of you are salesmen. Most of you are like doing calling, right? Like your job is to call people and try to get them to take classes, right? Like that's the new business, is selling and teaching classes. You're no longer, we did the research, we figured it out, right? The experiment's over. So they moved to a new warehouse, which has semi-private rooms. And yeah, everybody's salespeople now. In order to justify this change, Nicole tells her followers, the universe is made of love. Sales is love. Therefore, the universe is made of sales.
Okay. Honestly, based on the level of cruelty and evil she's capable of, she's half-assing it with this one.
She's half-assing it. That's lazy. That's lazy. I'm sorry.
If sales is love and love is...
Really, Nicole? That's what we're going with, huh?
God.
Now, it's a measure of her charisma that no one leaves on the spot after hearing that.
Sure.
So one of Nicole's most valuable members and employees during this period is a young man named Saeed, who first gets drawn into the group because he was in love with somebody. He goes to like a class and he falls in love with someone who lives at the warehouse named Maya. And he basically tells Maya, hey, I've got a crush on you. And she's like, well, if you're into me, the best way for us to hang out is for you to take more classes here. And eventually he winds up moving in. Now, Saeed is a really conventionally attractive guy, right? And he starts being used as a lure by Nicole and Rachel, who's like her head of sales, this woman Rachel, and like the other people running the cold. See Saeed both as like maybe a way to get off themselves, but also here's a really hot guy. We can use him to bring in both hot women that we want to work and join the cult, but also maybe older women who have money to spend on expensive classes, and they want to be paired with this hot dude, right? So a separate part of internal OneTaste culture, as I've said before, these like circular meetings where people will, one way or the other, the purpose is for you to get insulted and mocked and derided and have like a cathartic experience, right? So people will sit around and ask Nicole questions, and she'll answer them and like coach them and say, this is what that question tells me about you, right? During one of these sessions, she focuses on Saeed, and she asks him, why do you think so many of the women here like being paired with you, Saeed? And here's how Ellen Hewitt describes what happens next. Because I'm willing to violate them, he started to say. A murmur of surprise shot through the room, as Saeed remembers it, and then the students started cheering. He was cut off, but he had wanted to say, I know how to violate them in ways they want, to take them to their edge, but I also don't make them feel taken advantage of or left empty or not held afterwards. All he got to, though, was violate. After that, everyone started calling him the Violator. Another OneTaste executives decided she would call him the Fucker. That says a lot. Both that they love that term because they love the aggression. That's a bigger and bigger part of it, is that like aggression is good. Some violence is good, right? Sex
without boundaries.
Yeah.
That is not how I thought that anecdote was going to go.
Nope.
That is really... I genuinely thought it was going to be people who were becoming uncomfortable, interjecting and being like, yeah, that is what it feels like. But no, it's doubling down and saying, like, so we're just deep enough in at this point where it is sexually violent, and I'm shocked at how willing they are to say it.
They're willing to say it, and the craziest thing to me is, at least if this is being reported accurately by Hewitt, and I have no reason to believe it's not,
sure,
the violator is the one being violated here, right? Because after Nicole hears this, she loves this as a branding thing, and she uses Saeed as she starts calling him their hook, literally their hook, because he will pull women into the company's classes and gatherings, and there's a lot of women who like are, maybe want to explore that kind of thing and maybe want to explore some more aggressive stuff. Saeed doesn't want that, though. He doesn't actually like being the violator. He doesn't like being called in to do all of these like violent and aggressive sex acts in order for Nicole to make more money, but she keeps telling him to go be the violator again, go do we've got this other woman who wants it and is willing to pay if you'll like spend some time with her, right? And Nicole keeps asking him to go further and further. She assigns him to have sex with a OneTaste executive named Emma, who thought the violator sounded hot, and she starts using him to rev her up, is her words, before speaking events. She'll make him come in and masturbate her, and then she'll go out to like give a speech. On another instance, one of Nicole's top lieutenants, Rachel, who's also ordering Saeed to have sex with her periodically, orders him to have sex with another female cult member. He refuses, and Rachel calls him an ungrateful, petulant brat and shouts at him and gets everyone else in the compound shouting at him until he agrees to go upstairs and do it. Again, Saeed's not forced to have sex exactly. He's just berated and mocked and ostracized when he doesn't, right?
He is forced to have sex.
I would say he is B. But in terms of the people who defend this will be like, well, he could have left. He was a big guy. Why didn't no one was stopping him, right? Because there's not a great,
It is wild how Nicole is, doing classic, like she's going full Darvo, and that like all cults, like that there. It seems like a lot of why this is working is not only is she preying on, probably his masculinity, but also that berating is a part of the culture, so no one would flinch at someone being berated.
Nope.
That is a part of it.
And it's celebrated.
Yeah.
She talks a lot about people needing to have sharp scalpels, and that she celebrates that we all have sharp scalpels, which means we're good at cutting each other. It's good to cut each other. We need to do that. It makes us stronger. This is Nicole's literal language, right?
You just want like someone in the room to have a moment of lucidity and be like, "So wait, what is the goal here?
No.
Why did we start doing this?" It's God, that's really.
It's pretty bleak.
Yes.
Yep. So, like a lot of OneTaste cult members, Saeed is also queer. He's bisexual. And at one point, he admits interest to a man, to Rachel, and she allegedly calls him the F word and forces him out of her bed. So again, this is a very, queer-phobic, anti-queer environment, too, for the people living in it. By the late 20-teens, OneTaste was more profitable than ever and had transitioned entirely to depicting itself as a Silicon Valley startup. People who had once been researchers exploring the frontiers of desire and sexual power are now operating a call center, spending days at a time awake, struggling to hit aggressive sales targets. Nicole successfully convinced many of them that selling and buying courses was the infinite game. She talks a lot about games, right? This is very much coming out of these other cults, right?
Yeah, well, and the infinite growth because we're in Silicon Valley.
Because it's Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Right. And anything was justifiable as long as you had to keep the game going, right? Per an article in Bloomberg, quote, OneTaste taught members that money is just an emotional obstacle. It encouraged students to take out multiple credit cards to pay for courses, and some turned to such sites as GoFundMe and Prosper Funding for help. The first time I didn't cover my credit card bill, it broke something in my mind, says Ruan Mipalaga, who went to his first OneTaste event in 2012 at age 24, worked for the company for about 2 years, and left owing $30,000 on his credit cards. I was no longer afraid of debt, he says. Once you break that barrier, $3,000 is the same as $30,000. At one point, Mipalaga complained that he and his coworkers hadn't been paid in 2 months. He says he was publicly shamed for having a scarcity mindset.
Oh, another hot button phrase that's constantly misused.
Yeah.
Nice.
Love it.
3,000 is very different than 30,000.
Very much so.
My guy, it's 10 times 3,000 actually.
I don't know. It's
But
a scarcity mindset, Sophie.
None of it's
sure.
real money. And you're like in an LLM, you're always being told, what's the big deal? You're going to pay 10 grand. This will make you so much better. It will open you up. You'll make that so much more money than that. Like once you really get fully right. It's an investment, you know? Mm-hmm. Now, that Bloomberg article was published by Hewitt, the author of the book Empire of Orgasm, in June of 2018. She was not the first reporter to write critically about OneTaste, but she was the first to write critically about OneTaste and have it matter. The vast majority of mainstream reporting on the company, as it was generally described, was bemused but open-minded. In fact, if you want a really good study in journalism versus PR, you should read that first 2008 New York Times article, The Pleasure Principle, and then Hewitt's article. Now, I think the best example of this is how the Times wrote about Vic Barranco, the Morehouse founder. That's like one of the earlier orgasm cults. This is the guy who liked to crush women's vaginas with his hands when he was in a bad mood. Here's how the Times described Vic. Morehouse's founder, Vic Barranco, was a former appliance salesman who called his philosophy responsible hedonism. By some accounts, Mr. Barranco, who died in 2002, used coercive techniques of mind control. It was a huge ego-crushing machine, as any valid monastic tradition is, said a man who lived at Morehouse for more than 20 years and did not want to be identified. And that's all you guys had about Morehouse? Really? That's all you had? The New York Times? That's all you needed to say about him, you thought? Really?
I mean, the New York Times is standout for this, but it's a lesson that no one ever seems to learn. And even, that's amazing that that the article that came out eventually did, because that had to probably be hard to get through. You just have to have an editor that actually cares about stuff in order to get that done. I don't know. I'm sure we all have I have 3 Los Angeles cult adjacent things that you're just well, I guess we'll just see if a journalist manages to get it through at some point. But that's thankfully
one did, right? Hewitt did, and not only for this article, she get dozens of brutal accounts inside life inside OneTaste, accounts that the Times could have got, some of them at least, the Times could have gotten. But not only that, She forces OneTaste in this article to address the worst allegations of abuse. Vlan Vlek, who is the CEO of OneTaste in 2018, admitted to her, we took money from people that we shouldn't have, right? So she even gets, just within the article, before the backlash to it, she gets them to like, oh yeah, you know what? This lady has our number enough that we have to cop to some shit. So by the late 20-teens, One Touch had spread to a number of other countries. This started with Nicole ordering specific offices opened, first in New York and then in Austin, LA, London. But also there's a bunch of independent OneTaste houses that are being established all over the country. Per the book Empire of Orgasm, almost 500 OneTaste students would live in 33 different OM houses. This informal network mimicked the way many Silicon Valley tech startups were metastasizing rapidly from city to city. Uber, Lyft, Instacart, and other on-demand companies prided themselves on blitzscaling and operating with little overhead or liability. To avoid getting dragged down by employment costs, the startups hired drivers as independent contractors and required them to provide their own cars and equipment. Similarly, many of OneTaste sales workers were independent contractors paid on commission. Yep. It's all the Silicon Valley grift, right?
It's a classic grift, and it's kind of a creative grift in that there is actually no real product. The overhead couldn't be lower because what you're selling is assault.
Yep. Speaking of that, when Nicole had established the second warehouse commune, they move out of the first on Folsom and into another one. This is the one that has like semi-private rooms, which seems like a positive move. But when they move into this place, Nicole makes it be the rule that none of the bedrooms should have locking doors. And after this point, all of these OM house franchises around the country abide by this rule to disastrous effect. Okay. Now, periodically, throughout this long journey, Nicole and her top lieutenants would experiment with broadening the curriculum. On several occasions, they attempted to create male versions of the clitoral stimulation workshops, right? To where you're trying to teach people how to give a hand job really well, I guess. And this never works out as a business. Nobody, for some reason, nobody wants to take the hand job classes.
It's just so half-assed.
It's really funny. It's really funny. No one interested at all in the dick version of this. If you tried to tell people that, like, no, the penile orgasm is actually a sacred and magical, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. No, it's not. You can't sell that. I'm sorry. Nobody's buying it.
No, that's too free. That's too free. You cannot. No.
Fuck it. Dudes are so screwed up. The only way to make money in that ways is to make people stop coming. Like, you can convince people there's magic in never coming, right? But you can't convince people that, like, a dick is magic. It's just not.
If it was, we would know by now. We would certainly know. God. Okay.
It's very funny to me. And the reason Hewitt gives for like these classes never take off is that One Touch's ability to recruit young women, both to pay for classes and to provide the sexual labor crucial to the organization's focusing, doesn't work. They're less interested if there's also hand job classes. That makes this seem like something else. If it's all focused on just people with vaginas being massaged, right? And if that's the only thing that's happening, you can convince yourself this is like really women-led and like women positive. If there's also jerk-off classes, that doesn't work. That's just not a good sell.
And so the jerk-off classes being completely unprofitable is incidental.
Super funny.
That's so good.
So, a lot of these people are comfortable being massaged, taking an OM because they're being told the men are not getting any sexual gratification out of this, right? So if you add any kind of male sexual gratification classes in there, even though a lot of men are getting gratified, that's kind of how the money is being made. You have to hide that stuff.
Right.
So earlier in the episodes, we talked about a guy named Ken Blackman. He was a former member of the Welcomed Consensus orgasm cult who once punched a lady because he had been taught that violence was a kind of honest communication. Nicole eventually recruits this guy as a teacher because she knew him at the Welcomed Consensus and because she's reintroducing a lot of these Welcomed Consensus curriculum about like violence into the OneTaste curriculum. And she changes the way they frame it, and her words, the way she describes this, the term she likes to use is skillful violation. And skillful violation means that you know it's better for someone to push through their boundaries, even if they say no, so you don't listen to the no. You violate them even though they say no, because you're skillful enough to know that they actually need to have their boundaries violated, right?
I'm curious what your opinions are on this. Like, why is it escalating towards such absurd violence at this point?
To.
Like,
because there's nowhere else for it to go.
Right. It's just escalating it to like, how can I retain control? And eventually it just becomes fear tactics.
That's right. If you're honestly trying to help people be more sex positive or like teach them kink stuff, there is a point at which, and it's a pretty quick point at which people are just kind of good to go on their own. You know, they might want to go to like parties or events or like take specific technical classes on how to use whatever whip or a fucking St. Andrew's cross or whatever. But they don't need to keep paying money to a group. They don't need to keep listening to a guru. You kind of give people a basic and they're good to go. If you're not going to do that, in order to keep them following, you have to constantly have more new curriculum. And eventually that's going to wind up in some really dangerous directions, right? And for OneTaste, it ends in skillful violation. And Nicole justifies skillful violation being a thing by teaching that only 25% of human communication is verbal, right? Trained OM experts learn how to read the nonverbal 75% of communication that's going on.
Which I'm sure you don't even realize what you're thinking or what you want. Sure.
So a skillful violator is someone who's been trained enough to be able to read someone's real desires and then be able to force them to experience those, right? At their annual conference, OMX one year, OneTaste staff wore shirts with penetrate written on the front.
No.
Great stuff.
No.
In 2013, a member of an OM house in Austin posted on OM Hub, the cult's internal social network, and claimed that a man had repeatedly entered her room and sexually harassed her. Because again, the doors don't lock. This blows up internally. This is causes problems. People are saying, shouldn't we be able to lock doors? Who was this guy? Should he even have been there? This seems like a problem. And initially, Rob comments internally and apologizes and says, we'll get right on it. But after that, a bunch of Nicole's lieutenants come in, and I think this is actually Rachel who comes in and they're do damage control. And one of her lieutenants posts, as a woman, the easier thing for me to do is say I was violated. That way I don't have to look at my part in it.
Oh, okay.
Great.
Okay.
Your part? She was in a room that won't lock. What was her part?
It is insane how regressive it gets.
Yeah.
It gets. Okay.
Now, by this point, Nicole has added a section to her coaching program lecture where she claims to have seen a 2013 study from somewhere in which researchers studied rape victims to see how they'd healed afterwards. And Nicole claimed the women who recovered were the women who took responsibility for the action.
Right.
Okay. So this is part of what she's teaching. Now, this becomes an increasingly important message for the cult because in 2014, a sales meeting was called, and one of Nicole's representatives told the company it's really important that we not break any prostitution laws while selling courses. And attendees say that was a moment where I realized they're kind of telling me to prostitute myself, but just not to talk about it that way. Otherwise, they wouldn't have brought that up at all.
Right.
Now, Nicole increasingly lectures about how sexual trauma is the result of not wanting sex enough. And as she taught, if you change your mental state to one that accepts sex as always a positive thing, you literally can't be raped. And while she gave these courses, she would talk about how she was sexually abused as a child and explain the only way I healed is that I accepted I had actually caused that situation by coming on to him, and also that it was a good thing. Right? That it made me more powerful. Likewise, if someone expressed a fear or a phobia related to sexual trauma, the solution was to embrace that trauma and find a way to enjoy it. People are encouraged/forced to participate in rape and bondage play because they'd been raped or subjected to intimate partner violence. As Nicole said, the places you hate are your practice. They're actually your biggest gift. They're the places where you get free. This line of bullshit,
so deeply fucking depressing because it's not only practicing dissociation through being actively abused, but again, going back into all of these, she's capitalizing on these popular narratives about kink, and by suggesting that you would only be interested in this if you've experienced extreme trauma and enjoy dissociating. It's just it's such horseshit. This is so dangerous.
It's really bad. Yeah. 2016, the company made $9.4 million. Gwyneth Paltrow praised them openly. They do some like Goop stuff.
Okay.
Khloe Kardashian
Honestly,
talks about
shocking
them.
it took her that long.
Tim Ferriss does like a podcast thing about them, you know. At the most advanced stage of the grift, OneTaste was breaking into the mainstream, or at least the mainstream part of the woo self-help world. While the public-facing part of the company was very much in line with the body modification, self-optimization, Bay Area culture of the era, that's not what's actually going on internally. And inside, there are ongoing experiments that are like verging on occult nonsense. At one point, Nicole starts initiating priests of OM and selling like $15,000 classes where rich guys can participate in these like drug-drenched sex magic rituals and get like certified as priests. And I think Nicole's idea, because this never fully turns into anything. I think the idea at one point was that if this is successful enough, if enough guys are interested, if this proves to have legs, maybe we can apply for tax-free status and call ourselves a religion, right? I think Nicole was like exploring and just doesn't quite get the chance to live this grift out.
I mean, she is committing enough sex crimes, I think, to qualify as a tax-exempt religion.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
you might as well at that point. She's committed enough crimes to be a religion.
Yep. So she is getting much more reckless with everything as the years go on. I found at least one account from a former member who claims Nicole plied these rich tech guys with drugs at these high dollar classes. And, you know, these are not only are they basically paying to get into an orgy, but like at one point, this one member says Nicole specifically doses a dude with a bunch of LSD to try to convince him to donate another $250,000 to the company. Right? So that's part of what she's doing.
I'm honestly shocked at because of how modern this story is, that there is it doesn't seem like any member of the cult that there's been no significant whistleblowing incident this point.
Not yet. Bits have come out. But yeah, that's not going to happen until 2018 when Hewitt puts that article out.
Yeah.
But because the men with money are so core to everything happening here, Nicole's teachings trended towards explaining how it was good for men to be angry and controlling to women. She called this letting out your beast and praised it. Everyone was increasingly encouraged to be brutal towards each other, to cut each other up with their skillful scalpels. Nicole also praised intimate partner violence, most of which seems to have been man on woman. Women who were beat by their partners were told that they had caused the situation by goading his beast or not understanding his beast enough. If they sought to escape abusive situations, they were insulted from fleeing from his beast rather than meeting it with love. So, these OM priest classes and orgy sessions could net as much as $1 million for OneTaste for a 5-day class. These are the real top dollar things. And the guys in these, they are just paying to get into an orgy with a bunch of young women, right?
Right.
And
but it has to seem like school as well.
It's got to, right. And this, this works for years without them getting in trouble, but it couldn't last forever. By 2017, there's a couple of pending lawsuits, and there's some like rumblings that bad press might be coming, right? And Nicole decides to separate herself legally from the group in the hope of gaining some sort of plausible deniability. So she sells the company for $12 million to like her wealthiest followers. And this is framed as the company maturing, right? Nicole's still going to be the spiritual and intellectual leader, but OneTaste is going to be run like a normal company with like a CEO and a normal business chain of command, right? Okay. Now, initially, it seems like maybe this will work. In 2018, 35,000 people had attended OneTaste events in cities around the world, and hundreds of members lived in OM houses in multiple countries, OMing twice in the morning and twice in the evening, and often quitting their careers to sell courses. But that same year, Bloomberg published Hewitt's first bombshell article about the cult, which described it as looking like a prostitution ring. That article quoted former employees saying stuff like, "Orgasm was God and Nicole was like Jesus." And I want to quote from an article in The Times about the fallout from this article. OneTaste went quiet. It shut down all centers and courses. A group of about 30 senior practitioners, including Nicole, retreated to the land, which is like a chunk of land that they're starting a compound on, right? Mm-hmm. Then came a BBC podcast, The Orgasm Cult, a Netflix documentary, Orgasm Inc., a Vice documentary, and a Playboy investigation. In June of 2023, the FBI stormed the land. Daedone and Sherwitz, that's Rachel, were arrested. The company has spent about $15 million on legal fees since 2018, suing the BBC ABC, suing Netflix, suing a former member, being sued by another member for alleged sex trafficking, and fighting the criminal trial. And yeah, that's that. And it's one of those things where they were committing these crimes the whole time. It's as soon as that article comes out, the FBI is like, oh, I guess we got to look into this. And there's just immediately tons of shit to make charges on. Rachel is she's accused of targeting vulnerable people by advertising that the company's classes could fix sexual trauma, telling people to take on debt to pay for classes, withholding wages from employees, isolating people by demanding absolute commitment. She's accused of participating in abusive employment practices, subjecting members to economic, sexual, emotional, and psychological abuse, surveillance, indoctrination, and intimidation. And Daedone is accused of, participating in or of sexually trafficking people, of a whole bunch of bad stuff, right? And there's a lot. We don't need to get into everything that happens in the court case. Just a few weeks ago, earlier this year, Daedone was sentenced to 9 years in federal prison. She is convicted, so is Rachel, and they are sentenced both to prison sentences. Nicole, again, gets 9 years.
Which, as always, seems low.
Seems low. Judge Gujarati says that Nicole caused long-lasting, if not irreparable harm to former OneTaste employees. What she was doing wasn't about enlightenment or operating in a different dimension. It was criminal. Daedone has not accepted any wrongdoing. Neither has OneTaste. The people currently leading things still stand by her and basically say she's the fucking best. They're apparently, at least the way they're framing it is, we're waiting for her. As soon as she gets out, we'll be able to get back to the important work.
Yeah, Jesus famously returns.
Right.
That is what did she end up getting convicted on? I'm curious.
Oh gosh, let's get the exact list up here because obviously sex trafficking is part of it.
Yeah. It's so because every time I hear about a case like this and then you hear the actual conviction, it does sound like she was able to probably get out a lot of consequences by being able to argue, well, technically there was a degree of choice, even though people were so psychologically fucked that I would argue that's not true.
We'll see how much that helped, but she does get, it's a forced labor conspiracy. It's conspiracy to commit forced labor that she gets in trouble with and gets convicted of, forced labor conspiracy. The actual crime she's convicted on is forced labor conspiracy, alongside a little under $900,000 in restitution and 2 years supervised release. And it's just so far 7 victims confirmed, right? That's based on this. The only accomplice who goes down with her is Rachel. Obviously, a lot of other people were complicit and still are. But yeah, I don't think OneTaste is going to have the juice to survive until she's done, but we'll see.
Lord have mercy.
I know, truly. Let's. I hope not. I hope not. But usually with something like this, unfortunately, there's just going to be another grifter that innovates in the field of taking advantage of people. So.
Yep.
Holy shit.
Well,
holy shit, Robert.
Has this influenced any of your thinking on how to create your own cult, Jamie?
Look, Nicole, this was a truly horrific one. I feel like she really did find a way to incorporate almost every grift of the last 20 years.
It really is impressive in that. Yeah.
There's an element of false feminism. There's an element of capitalizing on male loneliness. There's a class element to it. There's indentured labor. There's forced labor. There's a tech element. It really does kind of run the gamut. And she almost became a religion. I think that really would have been the bingo, right? Is to rebrand as a religion.
And that's what I will do eventually when I finally best this with a cult that's about the opposite of orgasming. I'm going to teach people how to poop right. I think that's the next grift.
Well, and I think that's also,
you're doing it wrong.
Poop right
is
actually a good name.
If you get better at it, there's magic. It'll make you immortal.
Look, media literacy is at an all-time low. I think you should call it poop right. Get to the point.
Poop right. Call it poop right.
OneTaste, I had to think too hard.
And by 3 years on, I'll be teaching people that if you're not eating an all grape diet, God is going to kill your children or something like that. It'll go crazy after a while, but up to that point, we'll have a lot of fun you know?
Yeah.
You'll,
And
you'll
I'll
sell
try
so many supplements.
So many supplements.
That's
It's
true.
basically all supplements.
Oh my gosh, she wasn't selling supplements. That was a mistake.
She wasn't actually. You're right. That was an error.
There should have been a useless product.
Yeah, there were so many things she could have sold under the OneTaste name.
Oh,
she fucked it.
God,
yep,
I guess when I'm signing over my $20,000 check, I hope I'll remember to withhold it when you're like, actually, the best way to poop is to punch your spouse before doing it. That's the only way to really release is to assault someone immediately before taking the healthiest shit of your
Jamie,
life.
I would never do that. But the key to pooping is to live on a boat for several years, like robbing merchant vessels for me in order that I can like sell the proceeds. That's how you do it.
That's kind of brilliant to sell a poop
That's
only
right.
you could take.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
this was a good blue
here,
sky
Jamie.
meeting, I think. Yeah, this was good.
Yeah.
I feel good about it.
Great stuff. Yeah, I think we're on our way here. Jamie, you got any pluggables here?
Oh man, the usuals. I have a book coming out next year that there's no link for, so I'll let you know when there's a link for it. But for now, listen to the Bechtel Cast every week. Listen to We the Unhoused every other week, both on Thursdays and Tuesdays respectively. And yeah, take a healthy shit for free at your house tonight. Do that for me.
Yep. All right, everybody.
I'm trying to undercut your business.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, everyone. We're done. Go away. Bye.
Behind the Bastards is a production of Cool Zone Media. For more from Cool Zone Media, visit our website, coolzonemedia.com, or check us out on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Full video episodes of Behind the Bastards are now streaming on Netflix, dropping every Tuesday and Thursday. Hit Remind Me on Netflix so you don't miss an episode. For clips and our older episode catalog, continue to subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@BehindTheBastards. We love about 40% of you, statistically speaking.
This is Tamara Judge from Two Teas in a Pod with Teddy Mellencamp and Tamara Judge. Can we take a moment to talk about Chewy? I get everything for rugby from Chewy. His food, the treats, I'm constantly reordering, the toys he destroys in minutes, even his supplements. And it always shows up fast. Chewy also handles the serious stuff, prescriptions, pet insurance, telehealth vet visits, and they're even rolling out vet clinics across the country. Their 24/7 customer service actually understands dog moms like me and cat moms, bird moms, reptile moms, all of us. And with Chewy's 1-year satisfaction guarantee, trying something new is never stressful. For life with pets, the answer is Chewy. Save $20 on your first order with free shipping at chewpanions.chewy.com/teapod.
Dozens of executive orders, thousands of anti-LGBTQ+ bills, all designed to harm people we know, people we love, the people we are. Every day, Lambda Legal is in court fighting back. And when we take a stand, we're standing as the last line of defense between real human beings and harm. But we don't do it alone. With every act of support, you stand with us. And together, we'll hold the line. Fund the fight at lambdalegal.org/donate.
A BetterHelp ad. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. A reminder that whatever you're going through, you don't have to do it alone. Right now, most Americans are struggling. Nearly 2/3 report feeling anxious. More than half say financial stress is a major source. And even though 85% of people believe seeking support is important, many still don't take that step. That's where BetterHelp comes in. With BetterHelp, you can connect with a licensed therapist who's there with you to listen, understand, and support you on your terms. Schedule sessions conveniently via the app and talk to your therapist by video, phone, or live chat. BetterHelp matches you with a therapist who's with you through life's ups and downs. Because no journey should be alone. Sign up now and get 10% off at BetterHelp.com. That's better, HELP.com.
Ever wonder how to make hosting look effortless? Here's a secret. Getting ahead of the mess with new Reynolds Kitchens countertop prep paper. Just lightly wet the counter beforehand so the paper grips and stays in place. Then lay down the Reynolds Kitchens countertop prep paper so drips and spills stay on the paper, not all over your kitchen counter. You can roll out dough, prep a party spread, or cook alongside family. When you're done, cleanup is as simple as lifting the paper and revealing that clean counter underneath. Effortless. You can use it for cooking and baking prep and even crafting, especially when you need extra working space. Because when the mess is already handled, you can focus on what matters: the food, the people, and the moment. It may look effortless, but now you know it's Reynolds Kitchens countertop prep paper. Take a tip from me: wet it, set it, prep it, done. Make it easy. Make it with Reynolds Kitchens countertop prep paper. Available now in the Reynolds Wrap aisle in Walmart, Target, Amazon, and Costco.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed Human.